to our speaker series, Meet the Board Member. What a treat to have one of our board members here at 7 o'clock in the morning to give us a nice presentation. I'll just introduce Ms. Bixler. Susan Bixler, President. Susan Bixler has been a member of the Georgian Club for 14 years.
Good to see you.
Susan is a well-known speaker, executive coach, and frequently quoted expert in the area of leadership development. So we asked her to speak this morning on whatever topic she wanted, and she chose Think Big, Start Small, Move Fast, or There Are Only 14,000 Days Left. I wonder what that's about. Guess we'll find out. Susan is a recognized author and written or co-authored 7 books. You have a copy of her 7th book, The Power of Feedback, in front of you as her gift to you. Thank you. What a nice Susan founded Bixler Consulting Group 32 years ago. It was one of the first companies to focus on the communication and leadership requirements of corporations and businesses. Susan and her team have worked with most of the Fortune 500 companies in 3 areas of leadership: executive coaching, leadership workshops, and through their 12-month leadership development program, the Circle of Leadership. Susan has been quoted in over 70 publications and has been interviewed by Diane Sawyer, Oprah Winfrey, Maria Shriver, Good Morning America, and the Wall Street Journal Report. She has won numerous awards in her field, including the Emmy Award presented by the Image Industry Council. She was a finalist for the Small Business Person of the Year in 2010 by Metro Chamber of Commerce, and she won the 2011 Woman of Excellence Award by Business to Business magazine. Congratulations. Wow. So thank you for being here, Susan, and let me turn it over to you, and let's give Susan a warm welcome.
Gosh, it is just a pleasure to be here. I've got a personal connection or professional connection with, I think, just about everybody in the room. So I'm really humbled that you're here. And if it wasn't for Jim Roden, we wouldn't be here. Do y'all know Jim Roden? He owns the Georgian Club. Yeah. We've been a member here, as Beverly mentioned, for 14 years. And this is such a wonderful club, and it's because of Jim and Mitch and the whole Roden family that we have a place like this in Atlanta to do business. Thinking big really matters. It really makes a difference. But you can't just think big, you also got to start small, because most of us don't have the funding to think big and go big. But the third part is we've also got to move fast because technology is dictating it. So I thought, you know what, let's talk about think big, start small, and move fast, because there's only 14,000 more days left. And what I decided to do is I Googled the actuarial tables for life expectancy. And I took a look at how old I was, and I took the line over and saw about the time I was going to die. And I thought, I want to be older than that, so I added another 10 years. So it was my own formula. So I took that number and I subtracted it from how old I was in 2008, and I came up with 14,235 days. And I thought, you know what? That's enough time to do something. I can regain some ground in 14,000 days, and you can too. I had this kind of magic number of 65 in my head, and I thought, I gotta have enough money by the time I'm 65. But look at my 401k; it's not going anywhere. In fact, it's it's lost 40% of its value. But I still have to have money when I'm 65. And I thought, you know what? Drop that number. 65. You know how 65 came into our vernacular? Napoleon Bonaparte didn't want to pay any of his soldiers an old age pension. They didn't live to be 65, so that was the day, that was the year when they began to get their pensions. And one of the things that we found in the years that we've worked with clients is that it takes at least 10,000 hours to get competent. 10,000 hours. Blame it. But in Outliers, it's called The Story of Success. And what he talks about is he studied successful people to try to find out from a researcher's point of view why these folks were successful. And what he found out is that they had all put in at least 10,000 hours to master anything. And it takes that kind of dedication and work. It doesn't come easy. There aren't any overnight successes. You can look at anyone that inhabits the stage and you know that they have done their work, that they have put their time in. But there he was, Yo-Yo Ma, the last chair. And Robert Spano tapped the baton and he started the symphony again, and there was Yo-Yo Ma playing like everybody else. He didn't have a solo, he wasn't standing out, he was part of the team. And in that moment, I thought, that says more than anything he could have said on stage. Because as we think big, we know that there's a lot that's involved in thinking big and the ways that we think big, and there's probably no one that's done it better than Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs could pretty much outthink any of his mistakes, and I'll tell you what, he made a lot of mistakes. But one of the first things he did is, leading a major company, he didn't finish more than 1 year of college. He probably needed to hang in there and finish that. Number two, he mistreated pretty much everybody who ever worked with him. Because the problem is he divided his life into two. It was either brilliant geniuses or bozos. And that's why Think Big is the first component. But now we're going to move to start small. Meg Whitman started small and she started eBay. Jeff Bezos started small and he started Amazon. Michael Dell started small, he did it out of his dorm room. Mark Zuckerman started small, he did it out of his dorm room too, started Facebook. There are so many examples. Larry Page started Google. So many examples where we need a marketplace that provides entrepreneurs with big ideas to start small and succeed. In a little town, one of the things my mom and dad told us is, you know, kids, there were 5 of us, you got 2 hands. You got one to earn a living and paddle your own canoe, because guess what, when you get out of college, you're not moving home. So you gotta figure this out. But kids, you got another hand here. You got a hand to serve. You've got a hand to give something back. You've got time, treasure, and talent. And it's there. If you don't have money, you got time and you got treasure. There's always something to return. And the neat thing about it is that it's a generative act. When you give, it doesn't subtract. It gives you even more. Because I think that as we continue our lives, these 14,000 plus days that you folks have got, we've got to figure out how do we do both? How do we earn a living? How do we add value? How do we make money? How do we make as much money as we care to make? And then on the other hand, what do we do with it? How do we make it really turn into wealth? And one way is certainly to serve. The painting classes, they're a blast, aren't they? Guys, you'd have a great time too. You sit there, you drink your wine, you paint something, you know, you put it on eBay, you make $1 million. It's a great formula. It's so funny because some of you are thinking, is this like a different language that I'm supposed to know? What is she talking about? I am going to give you 2 words and I'm going to repeat it, and you're going to know every single thing I said. And these 2 words are Christopher Columbus. Did it all make sense? That's a breakthrough. That's a breakthrough. That's what happens when you're working and you're confused and I'm confused and we're in a certain level of chaos, and all of a sudden things drop into place and you get clarity. It's like Christopher Columbus. It's a magic time, and it happens. And it happens through a lot of hard work. It happens through a lot of thinking big. It starts with moving in a small way, but going fast. And I wish for you the most spectacular year ever, your best year ever. I wish for you lots of fun and lots of progress over your next 14,000 days. And thank you all so much for being here.